Welcome to Who Cares, the podcast that embarks on a profound journey into the heart of empathy and indifference in our modern era. Each episode of Who Cares brings you insightful conversations with a diverse array of guests from various industries and walks of life. But Who Cares goes beyond individual stories. We dive into the larger societal and psychological undercurrents that have led to a perceived decline in collective empathy. Who Cares isn't just a podcast. It's a powerful call to action for reigniting the spirit of empathy within each of us. Let's find the answer to who cares together. Welcome to Who Cares. So how did the dreams lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, I've reflected on that a lot. And it's an interesting story. It's an origin story. And I'd be happy to share it, actually, with you. Curiously, it started in Santa Cruz, California. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And I was attending a workshop. I was in my early 20s at UCLA. And somebody told me about this woman who was presenting, Jean Houston. Right? And I had been interested in dreams. I've always, as a little boy, dreams would be part of my life. And, you share it with your parents, and ordinarily what they would say, well, Steve, it's only a dream. So there wasn't any real value placed on dreams, which, of course, there's tremendous value in working with dreams. And I went in the workshop as the time of the human potentials movement, all kinds of new psychologies happening in addition to what was going on in the world. Back then it was Vietnam, that war, always a war it seems, and dreams will respond to what's going on in the world today, for sure. But she directed me to this workshop, and I went, and in the workshop with Jean Houston, a dream came. Yeah, a dream came, and the dream was of a book that appeared, and I had no idea.
Was this a waking dream?
It was a dream at night that I brought to Jean the next day, and I said, Jean, my great-grandfather, he appeared in a dream, and he handed me a book. And I thought, it's such a peculiar dream, because when I was growing up, he lived in Pasadena, and I was born there, but we were then living in the San Fernando Valley. And my parents had always shared with me, look, let's go visit your great-grandfather, my father's grandfather. But they're from the old country. And they had come over on the boats and, the early turn of the century. And the reason for that is there was, just as there is today, persecution going on. There was not good things happening. And they were able to get out. And he met his wife, my great-grandma, Zadie and Buba, who I got to know them as, on the boat. They came over, and they started in New York City. But he had an idea of wanting to get to California. And his vision was follow the gold. And, of course, I literalized and imagined, it's the 49ers again and the gold rush and the whole thing. It wasn't that at all. It's following the gold, following conversation. He found the gold, which were the oranges on the many, many orange trees that he discovered coming out here. Anyway, I was brought to his shoe cobbler shop because that's what he was doing as a little boy. And they loved to be with me. He did in particular. Yeah. Oh, Stevie, share a story with me. If you share a story, I'll give you a shiny penny. Oh, whoa. Wow. Okay, so that's the beginning of storytelling for me, right? Share a story. And I would come up with a little something, and he would be so happy, big grin, and then hand me the shiny copper penny, which was so cool, right? This happened again and again, and I loved being there. The ambiance was great. I could
just feel it.
Oh, yeah. And my great-grandma was she was cooking a lot upstairs. I could smell it was just really good. But I noticed something peculiar one day. I noticed that a lot of people were coming in and giving their shoes for repair, but they weren't leaving with shoes that were repaired. So he had shelves of all these shoes. Yeah. They were there. They were sitting with him, and they were listening. And he was sharing and talking, telling story. And they were so touched and moved as they were moving away. I had no inkling of what that meant. I couldn't understand it. I never saw the work of the shoes, which he was incredibly capable. But that's what I wasn't observing, that part.
He was doing therapy.
Yeah, years later, I'm sitting at a lunch counter in the lunch area at Pacifica Graduate Institute, and I meet this fellow, and he's a man from from Los Angeles, actually. And he shares this most amazing piece of information with me. Okay, this is after I was with Jean Houston. She said to me when I offered the book, offered the dream, she said, Steve, when the dream comes like that, you go visit. You find the book. I said, Jean, Steve, she says, find the book. So, I'm impressionable. I'm in my 20s at that point. I called up the one remaining person, my great aunt, who was still alive. And I said, I would love to come over and just talk with you about, my great-grandfather. I knock on the door. She opens the door, and she says, Steve, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to come. I go, okay, chills running through me at this point, right? I've been waiting for you to come. Well, I'm just curious about a book. And then I look over, and there's this big chest, embroidery on the chest, a vase with some flowers on top and so on. She removes the vase, removes the embroidery, opens the chest, reaches down and says, I've been keeping this for you. Okay, I am so touched, right? I am in awe, which is usually how these things go. I open the book, and of course, I'm ready, willing, and wanting to read every word. Of course, it doesn't come forward in English. It's all written in Yiddish, right? Oh. And you read the book backwards in the Yiddish tradition. So I thought, okay. Well, I just said so grateful and thankful, and I took the book back with me to where I was attending school then in Santa Barbara. And I sent it to a person that I found who was living in New York. I didn't want just a translation. I wanted a person that really understood the essence of the culture. Okay, and so she said yes, I would be happy to, and she grew up in that area too, where he lived back then.
You said that was in Belarus area.
Yeah, in the Belarus area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in today's Belarus, and I would receive in the mail, if you can imagine, 1 or 2 pages every 2 weeks or so, all typed single-fingered, right? Carbon paper. And they were treasures. And I started reading. And oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He was more than a shoe cobbler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that really, really opened for me the idea that, wow, there's something else. And I thought, my gosh, I've been now working with dreams. I've been working with other people in their dreams, and I had no idea where the work was coming from, not really, only to discover all that he was sharing had so much to do with the work that I was doing. Yeah. So it was kind of something along those lines. Then I leapt ahead before. I'm in, the dining room at Pacifica, and this man sits next to me. And I said, hello, and he says, hello. He said, I am the rabbi, and I run a whole foundation here in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I just want you to know that, your grandfather and his books are important. Do you know that there are people from around the country and the world that gather every year to study his work? Okay, can you imagine my embarrassment? I had no idea. I had no idea. Not only that, they gathered in Ojai, which is close to Santa Barbara,
right there,
every summer and make a pilgrimage back to the Belarus, and so I was a little embarrassed. And he said,
it's magical.
It is. It was all very, very magical. Yeah. And he said, the work is extraordinary, and you know that it's archived at both UCLA and USC. I had no idea, which is my ignorance, right? I had just followed the way of my parents, which was, that's the old country. We're here now in something new. And I never imagined all that would happen. Though reading the text when she was translating, there was something that was happening that was really quite elemental and profound, and shapes my way of working with dream. Yeah. For him, it was everything's alive. The leather he's working on with the shoe repair is alive. So that really, he's in an animated world. And the work that I do with the living images of dream is about animating the dream.
So you feel that maybe that's part of your DNA. Is that what you talk about with DNA, that dreams are a part of our DNA?
Yeah, dreams certainly come forward, and they originate in the topics of the day, right?
Yeah.
And they originate in what's going on in our life, physiologically, emotionally, psychologically. They'll respond to the last 24 to 48 hours of life. Of course they do that. Yeah. And two, we can connect them to stories. We can amplify them, and there's great teaching stories, those universal themes that are always at work through all of us, and they have so much to offer. And two, in addition, as James Hillman was talking about in archetypal psychology, and so many others, it goes from James Hillman all the way back through earlier traditions. It's certainly through my work with my great-grandfather, that dreams have a life of their own, and the image, which I name living images, are embodied from the get-go, not like this physical body, but imaginally they have an embodied presence, and they have voices and stories to tell. And because I was listening to my grandfather sharing stories, that's kind of what I picked up, what we're doing right now. To listen to the image speak on behalf of itself and share its story. That's, I think, the new element, new old element that's so helpful for people.
Yeah, I think that's a huge concept, I think, for most to hear. I think when, as a clinician myself, you people come in and say, I had this dream and this happened, and what does that mean? And, I Googled it and it told me it meant this. And so they're so sure that there's an answer, that there's one answer. And I think you're bringing to life the idea that, that dreams have their own life going, their own life force, and that we need to listen or maybe relate to them on a different level. Can you speak more to that? Or
I think what you're saying, relate to them on a different level. Yeah, it's about deepening and developing a relationship with these living images, these figures. They're in the room along with us. So when I'm working as a clinician, dreamer, dream tender, and the dream images, they're present too. So rather so quickly describe meaning, right? Or talking about how this can be used in life. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's valuable.
Yeah.
It's just that there's something else in addition. So that's why it's dream tending, not dream interpretation, dream analysis, but to tend, to host the figures of dream is my orientation,
So when you're sitting there with somebody, what are some of the things that you're looking for or being aware of?
Well, the first thing I'm noticing in myself are the questions that are familiar. So when a person sits with me and shares a dream, of course they want to know what it means. And that's 90% of our profession is oriented around what does this dream mean? And then, of course, now with technology and AI and ChatGPT and everything else, you just punch it in and get a meaning. So there's value. There's something about that is helpful, I think, and insightful, depending on how it's contextualized. There's also something about doing that's dangerous too, because when somebody ascribes a meaning, well, that's what it means, and then I'm going to follow that, and if that meaning is off, it gets people into some trouble. But yes, I acknowledge that. What does this dream mean? There are two other questions, though, that shape and shift the conversation. So for me, it's not only what does the dream mean, but who's visiting now. And notice that paradigm shift. Who's visiting now? the living entities, the embodied figures in the room along with us. They're here. You're sharing a dream. I'm listening. The figures are not only static, and it's not just a sign of something that's happening that needs to be interpreted. There's an actual presentation. When our eyes are closed and dreams come awake, they're obviously as alive in their imaginal way as we are. They have their own capacities, their own ways of interacting. So who's visiting now? To use that philosophical term, we follow, it's a phenomenology of the dream. We follow the actions. Who's visiting now and what's happening here? That's different. So now we're following the figures as they interrelate with one another, and too, as they interrelate with me.
Are you asking the other person these questions, or are you keeping these questions alive in your own mind to see what's happening?
Yeah, good question. I certainly keep them in my mind, and I will ask, curious, this bear that came into the dream last night. I mean, it's easy, bear, a parent figure, a grizzly bear, an angry figure, a really strong grizzly bear, a boss at a work situation or a supervisor that's, and then on we can go with those kinds of what are called associations to seek meaning of the dream. And is it valuable? Yeah, it is. And two, who's visiting now? Bear is visiting now. And this particular bear, if it's not the boss, right? If it's not a parent figure, if it's not something unbearable that's going on in my life, what about this bear? Who's visiting now? And how do we host the actuality of this figure? Remember, for me, there are stories to tell through the images. And that's where I think the insight comes from, the extraordinary support, guidance, wisdom, help. So we want to invite the bear into the room safely.
Do you think they always come to help, these figures?
I think 90% of the time, actually they do, even the nightmarish. I think they do 90% of the time. Sometimes it's not advised to go further. If there's Holocaust or if there's really extreme abuse or something along those lines, I don't want to go too far into that because it's going to trigger all kinds of things. And I know then we're talking about a different kind of care and a different kind of support. 90% of the time, though, they are here. They've arrived. They're present now. Who's visiting now, right? And what's happening here? I want to get curious. So the key to the whole thing is to evoke curiosity. If I can feel the support and the protection, which is first and foremost important, feeling support, either by me as the tender or the therapist or the clinician, or in a group of people with others in community, or support of other imaginal figures that have shown up over the years, or of an elder or a friend or a really close friend or, a wise teacher. People in my life that have been supportive. I want them in the room, invite them in the room, because they're the support structure. And we need the protection and the support first, before, particularly if the images are threatening or somehow.
So you mean those supports as imaginal figures, not as real people coming into
they would be
come in as
it's the remembrance of a wise elder or remembrance of a best friend. They're in the room as imaginal figures offering their support. I feel it in my body. You take a deep breath in. If I go with it and work with these images in adrenaline or fear, one thing's going to happen. I'm going to be clinched. If I take the time to breathe, anchor, and then invite support figures in, how I am in the experience really shifts. And we need that. That's got to be the start place. And the next thing, of course, is to get curious about the image. And there are three ways of doing it that are quite useful. Yeah, okay. So one is bear, right? Okay, bear's here now. We're in now a field. For clinicians, it's not just the transference between the therapist and the person, or what's going on between the person and the person. Now the other figure is here. So that's part of our conversation, right? So we're in a field, and Who's visiting now? Bear. Well, what bear? It's not just a generic bear. The psyche, the dreaming psyche, is very particular. So we get to know what color is its fur. How big is it? You can use your senses even. Touch, taste, smell, and experience the living presence of an imaginal bear in the room. It is remarkable when we bring our awareness into relationship with these figures, how they become increasingly present, particularly with support, protection, guidance, right? If I smell the presence of bear is present now. If I notice that the bear is, this is so interesting. What's go on? Well, the bear is brown, but now when I'm looking, the eyes of bear, they're like kind of blackish brown circles of fur around the eyes. Okay, bear is coming, right? Bear is here now. Not the bear that's generalized or not the bear that's interpreted into something other. The bear that is of the dream time, present now. Then it's really easy to ask the question, and where do you notice bear in the room right now? It is 99, listen to me say that word, 99% of the time when I ask the question, and where do you experience bear right now? Oh, right here. Oh, right there. Yeah. Behind me. In front. I mean, it's immediate because bear is present, right? Yeah. And now we can start a different kind of work. We can begin to open a conversation with the figure,
When you bring in a new client and you're working with a client like that, how is this, and they've never worked on this level before, how is it received? Because I could see it being a little, people being hesitant to go there with you.
Yeah, because people come in with an expectation, of course. What does the dream mean?
Right.
They want to know.
Yeah.
And I want to honor that. So often I'll start there, Also, tell me something about the last 24, 48 hours of your waking experience.
What's happening now.
Yeah, because that is an expectation that's coming forward. I get that. And it's something that I want to be conscious of and not to miss. Right. Because the shadow of this kind of work is, you're doing all this work. And meanwhile, there's something horrific happening in life that we're not even paying attention to, right? So we do want to, really take some time to get the context. Jung talked about that, to make sure and get the context of the dream and the dreamer. So we do spend time there. Then in addition, there may be a story or an image that comes forward and we amplify. That's the method of amplification, and listen to the story and appreciate the guidance that's offered there. And then about that bear. Okay, now it's easy transition, right? Can you share more? Actually, as you're talking about the bear, what are you noticing? So you just very open-ended questions. It's a gentle move in and evoke curiosity. Curiosity and fear don't coexist very easily. In fact, they're reciprocal inhibitors. If I'm curious,
love that.
I'm not anxious.
Right.
If I get curious and fascinated, then I'm not going to be in agitation.
Right.
And with curiosity and with support, we can then go into this other place of not associating or amplifying, but we can animate, allow the figure to come to life. The end game is to let the figure come to life, engage into a relationship, and listen to the figure speak on behalf of itself. Yeah, that's what I call imaginal intelligence. There's a kind of intelligence that comes forward from bear that really truly wants to be heard.
Do you think there's any truth to the fact that an image will present itself in a way that is specific to you? In the sense that, like maybe you had an experience with a bear, for example, that was horrific. And so the bear comes in that form to get your attention versus somebody who has like a Disney bear visit or.
Yeah. Well, I hear two questions. One is actually we experience situations in life that are dream-like. Like I'm walking and a bear approaches and and it's scary. It's nightmarish, right?
Yeah.
And this work, by the way, is very instructive in working with the threatening and with the challenging and with the nightmarish, which is so much a part of the world of today. But yeah, that is like a waking dream. It was so dreamlike. That's out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Or I'm walking down, one of the streets that are it's very familiar to me, but this day, on this walk, something out of the ordinary happens. The light on this building that I've walked by 20 times, but it's changing. It's something feels different. And then I notice when I'm touched that way, I look across the street and there's a couple walking this way, and I just notice them interacting with one another, and oh my gosh, how lovely that is. Or the opposite, how difficult, challenging that is.
Right.
It's dreamlike. And actually, that's what Mary Watkins, a dear friend and colleague, wrote a book called Waking Dreams, and came out of the same crucible, working back in Zurich with James Hillman and working out of the Jungian orientation and extending it to this idea of animation, animating the dream, bringing it to life. So yeah, I think it is possible to really circle around and notice that the things of the day, the experiences, will come forward in the dream time and announce themselves. And there is something dreamlike, I mean, certainly we're living in a contemporary American Western culture.
Right.
Certainly, in many, many cultures, I've been really privileged to be able to work with Native elders in a variety of different contexts and cultures. And, they're paying attention to the world as if it were a dream.
From birth, right? They brought up with that.
They're brought up with that.
Yeah. And so how do you see that being an influence on them as they progress into adulthood? What do you see in differences versus American culture and the way we work with dreams?
Well, they're living in an animated world, a world that things are alive, right? The trees, not only are trees, they're also alive with spirit and soul and psyche, right? Buildings, too. The human-made and the nature-made, alive with essential psychic valence, so to speak. Yeah. There's a spirit of place, the song of the lake. I mean, if walls could talk, what would they say?
Yeah.
I mean, we have those inclinations or those indicators, but we often don't pay attention. But what happens differently is that when a situation like that occurs, it's not only how do I get out of this, what's dangerous, how do I escape, I need to warn others. I mean, all those are important. They are.
Right.
And in addition, what's the world dreaming forward, and what does it have to do with, my particular sense of calling or destiny or becoming? Usually the figures will come with that pronounced intensity when there's something asked of us, something that contributes to our becoming, our sense of calling, our authentic, sense of destiny.
Something that wants us to move.
Something that wants us to move into a kind of authenticity almost. Remember, again, I'll say it a third or fourth time, we first pay attention to the signs. I mean, is there something in life that is problematic, difficult? Is there something requiring attention? Is there something going on? Because I work with people all over the world.
Yeah.
I have to be conscious. Is there something in the home scene that is needing awareness, attention, that's hurtful, and the dreams are trying to bring our awareness to that?
Right.
Yes, certainly this. And in addition, when the bear comes, who's visiting now? What's happening here?
Yeah.
And then the last part, yes, what is the dream's desire? That's that third question, which is, the dream is here. What's the desire of the dream, not only of me personally or the, particular psychological theory that I'm working out on? What is the dream's desire? What is the ask? What is and inevitably, as we befriend these figures, which is what's asked, is to befriend them, to get to know them. At first they're frightening and scary, but in time we do have the opportunity to befriend. They become incredible support figures and allies. Really nice to have growly, grizzly bear
Right.
on my side
Corner is.
when I'm dealing with situations that are gnarly, right?
Well, that was my next question was, do you invite these imaginal figures back into the clinical room with you as support over time? Like, do you ever leave the dream as it is, or do they get invited back on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, so much so, on a regular basis, right?
Oh, okay.
So much so, some of these figures, they're lifers, right?
Yeah.
They become lifelong, what I call soul companions. They're figures that are part of our inner community, our inner family. We need outer community for sure. That's where we get support. That's where we meet one another. I mean, everything from falling in love to understanding the nature of relationships to raising a family to being in a workplace.
Yeah.
The outer community, it's so important. Also, though, there's an inner community that's essential, right? Essential. And therefore, when I'm working with Dream and working with these figures, when they make an appearance, it's really helpful to learn the ways of sustaining relationship, how to host them. And then I offer 3 or 4 different ways of doing that.
So you must have some amazing stories with clients and dreams that were transformative on some level or healing to the client. Is there anything that kind of jumps in your mind when I bring that up?
Yeah, a couple things. Actually, one thing that does is right here and now, since you brought the question up, I'm working with a group of people, extraordinarily gifted artists and storytellers, and a group of people. Because what we're talking about, these figures of imagination and the way of hosting, engaging them, and sustaining relationship with them. Well, when you think of little ones, children, and think of 2, 3, 4-year-olds, imagination is so present, right?
Natural.
It is natural. It is part of our inheritance. We're born into the world of imagination. It's required functionally in order to interact and learn different things and be engaged with people. And 2, it opens in a kind of an artistic, aesthetic curiosity. And children, and now there's research that is pretty conclusive, children that sustain contact with this quality of imagination, what we're talking about, things happen. Everything from STEM, the academic side, but also emotional intelligence, embodied intelligence. So much is available when people and little ones are supported. And now it's a challenge because, by the age of 3 and 4, they're on their cell phones X number of hours a day. Right. Social media is everywhere. Right. And the phrase, it's only a dream, there's not a lot of value to that. Yeah. And no blame, no shame. It's just the way of culture. Yeah. So we're starting a project working with little ones and their parents and their preschool teachers.
How wonderful.
Yes. How do we sustain imagination? How do we keep that alive? It's called the Academy of Imagination, and really opening that up and developing all kinds of ways that parents and kids, little ones, and preschool teachers can really sustain their contact to what's been their birthright from the beginning. And in so doing, parents also reacquaint with their sense of the imaginal.
Yeah.
Which is really...
I was going to say, it has to, right?
Yeah.
That's the word, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's play.
It's play.
It's another form of play, correct?
It is a form of a kind of play. For sure it's play. It is a way of being in play, right? And, people are playing all kinds of games. And of course, in the world of today, the games that are being played have a lot to do with power and dominance and this and that and the other. There's another kind of play, of course, we're all aware of, that brings us into a different quality of Eros, different quality of relationship with one another. And I think it begins with a way of staying involved with imagination. I mean, Einstein, it's not like, just psychological. I mean, Einstein's famous quote, I don't know if I'm going to get it exactly right, but, you can have all the learning that you can gather. That's one thing. But imagination is what is knowledge and what will keep the world moving around. Yeah. He didn't attribute his academic learning only to all that was moving through him, nor do great artists or scientists or parents. It's something else that's coming from the inside out that has a kind of imaginal valence that really is so helpful.
Presence.
Yes.
Different presence.
Yeah, can you imagine if I'm there with Bear and Bear is here with me?
Yeah.
I'm in presence.
Yeah.
I'm in breath. I'm in body.
Right.
We're connected. And I'm in a quality of presence. Yeah.
Right. Very much so. But it just seems like as a culture, we're moving so far away from that in terms of the outlook, I think. Everything that we're seeing right now is so far away. And that's where we kind of started this podcast, was the fact that everybody seems so disconnected and such a lack of empathy and compassion for each other.
Yes.
And that, how do you keep that going? How do the dream figures help us keep that going without being obliterated?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that is the challenge of the times, and I speak at a number of different community gatherings and Jungian affiliate associations and so on and so forth. And the question of the day is, how do we keep empathetic regard, compassion alive, given what's happening? Right. How do we bring ourselves into the conversation in a way that we feel is meaningful and not get caught only in the tried and true ways of protest and rebellion and this and that? Of course, those things are important and useful at times. And too, something else I think is being asked of us all here and now. I think that what's being asked is to do just what you're referencing, to stay connected to a deep sense of empathy and care, right? I'll share a story.
I would love that.
Okay, it just happened last week. This is about me.
Okay.
It's personal.
Great.
Oh my gosh. This is like fresh baked bread, right? I was in the Pacific Northwest in Everett, Washington, right? And a person that I've worked with for decades now, Russ Lockhart is his name. He's a Jungian analyst, in elder years. And I want to stay in contact with him. So I went up and spent 4 days. And I was there with him and talking with him twice a day. It was great. And going to coffee shops. The one thing about the Pacific Northwest I've learned, coming from Santa Barbara, there are coffee shops everywhere.
Yes.
They're ubiquitous. Yes. And it's a great place to just go into a coffee shop and let things happen and reflect and write story and so on. And then, of course, walking along the coastline is stunning as well. So I'm present and, and I'm going to listen to my dreams in particular and share these dreams with him. And, given the busyness of life, even though I have a life praxis of it every morning, going back to the earlier reference that we made, how do you keep this moving? Yeah. You have to move into a praxis of some sort, a life praxis. But once it starts, it has a life of its own. It's just, 5 days, and then I yearn to be back in it again and again. Yeah. It's like anything. When we get something that's so rewarding from it, we're going to find the self-reinforcement originating from the praxis itself. So I am in a little inn on the harbor, the Gardner Harbor, called the Inn. There in Everett, Washington. And it's a one-room little space, right? And it is just like being in a dream incubation place, like when I take people to Asclepius or to Kos, to the places where there are actual places of dream incubation. But this place is great, so, and I just had my art supplies, my computer, my journal, all right in the bed with me because I'm alone. So why not? Here's a place I can actually wake up at any moment of and write things down. So I was waking up, probably every 3 or 4 hours when a dream would come and take the time to write it down. And I didn't have work the next day or family obligations the next day. It was just, I'm doing this. So that, that was a pretty wonderful opportunity. At home, I do the same thing, though I'm conscious that in the morning, usually I wait unless there's a really significant dream, just because of not having the luxury of that kind of elasticity of time and space. And 3 figures came forward for me over those days, oh my gosh. And let's see if I feel comfortable sharing them at this early time.
Uh-huh.
I think I will share them, actually. One was a figure named Loss, Loss, loss. Oh, ouch, was my first response. Loss comes forward. I mean, I think it's because I was in Zurich at the 150th Jungian gathering, and there's so many people that at this stage in their life are experiencing loss, or a number of people that we've known that have passed on, that have died. And there's just loss, the young people that were there, and there's a lot going on politically and socially, and there's just loss. Yeah. There's so much grief.
Was there an image of it? Or was it just the word loss?
There was an image of loss that came forward. I won't share the image, but it was an interesting image. Yeah. And with the feeling. Mm-hmm. And loss was what showed up. So what I did actually is I sketched the image, and then I did what I share with other people when I make a life practice for myself, is I walked along the harbor and found something. It was a piece of driftwood that was lost. Hello, here you are. Here you are. And then I entered and engaged into a conversation and got really involved with loss, and found that, it's something that I'm afraid of. I think we all are. Yeah. The sense of health, the sense of loss of friends, the sense of loss of places, and all kinds of stuff. And there's grief going on in the world, loss of communities, loss of... Yeah. So now a figure loss. And then we were in conversation, really in deep conversation, in a variety of different ways. Writing back and forth, so journaling, dialogue, like we're all familiar with. Loss, noticing loss in the landscape, and visiting time and again, looking at the particularity of what I picked up and sketching that down. So loss became an image and a figure. And what I discovered, which is true so often, is that what lives behind loss, the visitation, wasn't about literal loss only, but actually is, I think, for the rest of my life now, will be an element, I'm certain it will be, loss will be an elemental soul figure, because loss is saying, yeah, there is loss, and there's loss all about. But rather than getting reactive and feeling only the grief is present, there's something else. And that is, with me present, it's possible to really speak your truth now, to really find the tenacity to say what is true. And Stephen, you're at a stage in life, if not now, when?
When, yes.
So just say what's true for you, even in the face of loss, or in the face of, something that would mitigate against that.
So maybe something that had always been there, but you hadn't necessarily created a relationship with it.
Yes, exactly. And two, I think loss over the years has evolved now to this incarnation. Right? Yeah. All right, the second person I met on this trip is Eros. So she came as this beautiful woman in her 30s or so, and I've seen her before somewhere. I still haven't placed it. Probably a movie somewhere or something, but I've seen her essence someplace, and I got fascinated by her. When Eros is present, of course, there's a opening that happens. Yeah, but rather than romanticizing or acting on that, or thinking that I need to find somebody, a beloved that I haven't found yet, and literalizing, going through all those things that we do, I just found myself getting into a deeper, heartfelt relationship with her as an imaginal figure. And oh my goodness, when I'm with her, just like what's happening right now and talking with you, my heart opens. I warm, and I just have a different quality of being. And I know we're going to be with Soul Tenders tomorrow, and I know in the morning I'm going to invite Loss and Eros, her presence, to companion me tomorrow into the workshop that I love doing here with Soul Tenders, and just be present. And then something else happened in one of those coffee shops, right? I've never had any, and I have grandchildren, so I have to spend time with them and their friends. So I love kids, and their imagination is open, and I love telling stories, you can imagine. And we do all kinds of things that we do, treasure hunts and all kinds of stuff. So I'm familiar with little ones. I walked into the coffee shop, and she must have been 6, no, her mom told me, 4.5 years old. 4.5 years old. And she, in all of her certainty and her confidence and her absolute yes, said, "Oh, welcome." And the line starts over here. And, it would be good for you to think about what you want to get before you go up to the counter. And she starts going, I can't believe it. Wow. And so I started a little conversation with her. Her mother is watching the whole time, because I usually never will work with children unless a parent is there to offer permission. And her mother is smiling. Yeah. I'm going, wow. Her mom was going, yes. And she then goes on and orchestrates the whole morning the time that I'm going to have in this coffee shop, directing me to this. And have you thought about? It was incredible. And her body was so articulate in her way, her fluidity, the quality of dance, which makes me always think of Marion Woodman and the way of being in dance, right? The movement. In movement, Psyche, soul, body, soma. And so I'm there with her and in awe. And her mom then approaches both of us and shares with her daughter, little girl, "Looks like you've made a really new friend." And I said, "Well, she's made a new friend. I'm so blessed." And her mom goes, "Yeah, this happens on occasion." And she said, her mom says, "Okay, say now goodbye to your friend." And so she says goodbye, and I say goodbye, and I say, "Thank you. It's wonderful to play with you and to be with you." Yeah. She then gives me a smile like Yoda, a smile that is thousands of years old and 4.5 years new, right? Yes. So it was fantastic. So this is the third figure that came forward, and I just name her Little Girl, right? Yeah. And I think about her often, and I think of her way of moving, and I think of her way of just spontaneously befriending a person, and like that. So those three have really come into the world, and they're imaginal figures, and I really want to spend time with them now every day going forward.
I wonder if she saw that you could see her, because I wonder how many people she tries to engage that don't see her.
It's so funny you asked that question. I asked her mom. I said, "Does this happen all the time?" I asked that exact question. I was just in awe. Yeah. You can tell that I was in awe. Yeah. And delighted too. Yes. I was just like, wow, how fortunate am I to have this experience with her. And her mom said, "It happens. Yeah. Not all the time, but it happens on occasion." And then I said to her mom, "Wow, she must be a lot for you." And her mom smiles. "She is a lot for me, yes. Yeah. But I love every moment of it," as her mom says.
Yeah, so her mom can delight in it.
Yeah, her mom was in delight with it. I thought, wow, what a different way of being in the world, going back to that originating question that you were curious about. Wow, what a way to be with people, Right. Open-hearted, not impositional, and not imposing an opinion or a political agenda. Yeah. Being open, heartfelt, and in a quality of play, and yet with eyes of such clarity.
And authenticity. Clear authenticity without a second thought.
Without a second thought.
Yeah. Just right into it.
Right there.
But almost like, for lack of better words, she saw her own species in you, and she's, I can move this way with this person, and they get it. Almost.
Yes. There was such kinship.
Right.
And when we're in together, like at Soul Tenders or at other places in dream tending communities, when we cultivate that way of being with one another, there is such kinship, such a quality of community. Right. And we need outer community to reflect that there. We need to be with a group of people that have a felt sense of,
Get it.
Yeah. And the way that we are being. Because they too are working with their imaginal figures, and doing the work of being an engineer or being a teacher or being a professor, or being a painter, or, whatever it might be.
But do you think there's consciousness in that all the time?
Well, that's what I think our work is to bring
consciousness,
additional consciousness to that. We all certainly have, we're born with the capacity and the capability.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful, is I've been trained as a clinician, a teacher, a professor, a therapist. So I don't want to romanticize, idealize, and miss the obvious. So people come to see me often not because they want to go into a magical realm. They come to see me because there's suffering going on.
Yeah.
There's a physiological affliction, something is wrong. I'm suffering a health problem. I work a lot with hospice, so I'm quite aware of end-of-life experiences.
Yeah.
Something's really going off emotionally, and I'm psychologically challenged, and I'm at the place of danger. There's that going on. I'm in a relationship, and it's becoming dysfunctional, and I'm lost, and I don't know what to do, and I have kids, and that goes on. Identity crisis goes on, particularly in high school and in college, and of course through adulthood. So people come in pain and suffering. And so the work that I'm doing is in relation to that. And everything we're talking about is so applicable, even physiologically.
Yeah.
Actually, that is one of the most helpful. We call that, medicines of the soul. Dream images will come and talk about. They'll be the forerunners. That angry bear, in addition to that being something out there that sometimes picks up something that's going on physiologically, right? And will present, an affliction even before onset. That's what dreams are. Of course, it seems the most esoteric, and it's the most causal of anything, because something goes off in the soma, and of course the psyche is going to pick it up and offer a hint. So,
are there typical themes that come through with those, like end of life with physiological?
Yeah, with physiological. Yeah, there are typical themes. The house is a perfect theme, actually. Now that we're just doing this, the house.
Yeah.
I mean, the house obviously, there's no place like home, so it has a lot of reference and relevance. Home has a lot to do psychologically with personality structure and the way of being in a home place. Everybody's trying to get home in literature. Odysseus is forever trying to find his way back to Ithaca, of course, home, needing his imaginal companion, Athena. Without her presence, it ain't going to be an easy journey. So those figures become so important in folklore and literature and song, music. It's just so. In addition, though, house has, it's a really important image. I always pay attention physiologically. When house comes, in addition to those other levels, the first question is there something going on in the home that's needing attention, particularly if it's a current home or if it's a family of origin home, versus is it a new house, house that I've never seen, a dream house, pulling something into the future. But physiologically, let's just imagine the house for a moment, as an image. And I'm going to literalize and simplify because of our time. But imagine the house, and in the house, in the dream, there's a living room. And in the living room, right, there's something peculiar happening. Well, what's happening? Well, in the dream, I don't know, Steve or Dr. Aizenstat, Steve, I don't know. There is, it's like there's something growing in the middle of the living room. I go, seriously, what is that? I don't know. It's kind of like a melon, like a pumpkin. It's a pumpkin. Oh, but what's disturbing is when first it doesn't belong there, and then when I look closely, there's kind of like maggots eating at it. Okay, all right, that gets my attention. So do I immediately say, oh my gosh, you have a physical affliction and it's serious? Let's call it ER. No.
Yeah.
That would be reckless, out of the scope of practice, and just wrong.
Sure.
But let's imagine that dream came a second time or a third time.
Yeah.
I might inquire, hey, just out of curiosity, how are you feeling? Not only psychologically, emotionally, physically.
Yeah.
And is there anything going on that you might want to have checked out by a physician, a medical practitioner? Or the same house dream, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the place of the attic. I mean, we can go through every room because every room has a significance. We'll just do one more. We're in the place of an attic, right? Well, let's do before that. we're noticing that the plumbing is something's off and one of the pipes break and there's water flowing through some of the rooms. What do we think about with plumbing? Circulation, So I get curious about that. Again, don't make a quick analysis. That's just reckless and wrong. But if that keeps going, then I get curious. Is there something that's needing attention in relation to veins, arteries, so on and so forth? In the attic, the person's up there. Okay, everything's kind of okay. Oh, well, there's something peculiar. Okay, what's odd? What's peculiar? When I'm looking out the window, it's all gray and darkened. Now I'm having a hard time seeing outside. Right. The obvious is that it could be connected to the beginning of the psyche, talking about vision, eyes, and what needs attention. It can get even more so. Oh, I'm noticing the attic in the corner. There's a web. Okay. What kind of web is that? I don't know. It's like a spider's web. Okay, so I'm not going to make a great big fuss about that. But let's say the dream continues and it repeats the second, the third, and the fourth time, and the spider web gets dense and more so. And now we see a spider in the web, the dreamer does. Well, you begin to think about, issues, and you begin to get interested with the person as to what's going on and is there something that you want to check out. And it can get more dangerous than that. If the web has a creature in it and it's deteriorating, then you're going to go to something else. So the dreams will forever picture what's going on somatically in imagery.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about the significance of nightmares and how they play into that whole. Are they very different than a dream? Would you categorize them as being different?
They are dream, and they are getting our attention. There's urgency, usually. We usually connect that to the situations of the day, and we need to. So we have to listen to the urgency, what's going on in the day, what's happening in the collective forever is making its way into dreams now. So people are having lots of dreams of, warlike situations, It's not unusual for a person to experience a dream now where there is some kind of extermination happening in one way or the next. There's threat. And yes, it may be happening in my life and in community, but I'm picking it up through the collective psyche as well. But even in the dream physiologically, when the nightmarish presents, dreams will come with both the wound, what's asking for attention, but also the cure. There's medicines. So the horrific often comes with bringing our attention to it. And when we learn the craft, when we learn the ways of going even more deeply still into the image itself, usually the essence is homeopathic. It's not even that abstract. It's homeopathic. A little essence of that which is so poisonous or difficult or threatening often has a curative quality to it. So when we host it in a way that allows for that, and of course those traditions go back thousands of years, but to notice what is the medicinal quality that is part of the dream in relation to physical illness.
Wow. So I realize that because your images are coming back to me now, that we kind of cut those off of what you shared. How would you, since those presented themselves to you, how would you deepen those on a regular basis now? You said you've invited them in to stay.
Yep.
And so how will they become your daily practice?
Okay, let me share. Let's just personal. I'll just share my daily practice.
Okay.
Right? So first, a dream journal of some sort. Right?
Okay.
It's so important to have just having a dream journal next to the bed, even if it's a pad or electronic, it's helpful because you're already saying, hey, you matter. And I'm here inviting you in, right? And then some people have a hard time remembering dreams, and there's easy ways of doing that. The simplest way is just listening to what we're talking about and getting curious. Saying before going to sleep at night, tonight I'm going to remember my dreams 3 times. And in the morning, that's the pivotal place before going to the cell phone. What percentage of people in this country go to their cell phone before anything else? Ooh! it's in the 80%.
80? Yeah.
Yes, you got it.
Yikes.
Where I was just
Yeah.
in China and Asia, it's 90-something%. Yeah, you just reach and you're looking for what's come forward.
First.
Usually you're hoping for something positive, so you want that hit.
Yes.
But before that, before the demands of the world, the obligations that we all have, our responsibilities, our agenda, before that, and before the cell phone, taking the time to be in liminal space and that place. Deep breath in and time to remember. Let the dreams that are occurring. The hardest part is if it's an unpleasant dream to honor that. But even if they're difficult, simply writing them down. And sometimes we don't remember the whole thing, but they're just hints that are coming forward. And I just encourage people to write them down. So in my daily practice, in the morning, first thing is I make time to write dream. Okay. When I was in Everett, Washington, as I was saying, I was doing it all night long. But
Wow.
you know, when I'm at home and with family, with my wife, I don't get up all the time.
Yeah.
That'd be awkward. So what I do is I wait in the morning, and then when a dream comes forward, I'll write it down. And if I don't remember it exactly there, I'll take my journal to another place, like if I'm going to get a glass of water or I go to the bathroom or something,
Yeah.
just because it'll come forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I don't do it then, I'll forget it.
Yeah.
I have to do it.
Because-
For me, Steve, unless it's a really
Yeah.
significant, strong, powerful dream, I have to sketch it out right
Yeah.
then. So that's the first thing. Next thing that I do personally is I remember, it's the book that Jim Hillman and Sono Son San, they wrote out of Jung's work, The Lament of the Dead. And so many cultural traditions follow. They have rituals, right? I want to remember the figures that have been important to me. So I take about 20 minutes of time every morning in journal, and I'm in remembrance. I mentioned James Hillman, Marion Woodman we mentioned. My great-grandfather is always present, and there's about 6 or 7 others that are literal. And then there are figures that have come forward over the years, like the 3 that are now making an appearance are Loss, right? Eros and Little Girl. They're going to be with me, I think, for the next decade or 2. And I remember them, and I do an exercise that I just make up, but it's the same one, so it's repeating. And I just have a time to remember their presence. So I'm having a regard for the figures that have been so important to me, the inner community. I want to tend to the inner community. And then the next thing that I do in the morning is I go into what we would name an active imagining. So it's not an active imagination like people literalize. That's usually literalized into a guided imagery kind of thing. But active imagination from Jung's point of view actually was the imagination in its activity. It was the spontaneity of imagination he was referring to. That's where the Red Book comes from.
Yes.
Yeah, from that spontaneity. So I go on what I name, for me personally, the dig. Everybody has a different name. I just call it the dig because it happened in a coffee shop 10 years ago or 15 years ago now in Everett, Washington, one of those coffee shops, doodling on a napkin, spilling coffee everywhere. And I just went down, and I use that as a portal. And, the later iterations of this work and dream work, and what I'll introduce perhaps tomorrow at our workshop with Soul Tenders, is the dreams come in addition to everything we said with portals that open the way into the autonomous imagination. And that's amazing to journey there. So every morning, in addition to the first 2 things, I'll journey into imagination and let it go free flow. I invite, I follow, I don't lead.
Yeah.
So the Steve ego isn't present.
Yeah.
It's kind of an imaginal archetypal ego that is present, but one of the many. And usually there's a figure, let's just say guide, that presents. There's an animal presence. We use bear or cat, and they have an animal instinctive sensibility. They're really helpful. Those nightmarish figures, when we work with them, they're transmuted. Oh my gosh. In the worlds above, they're threatening, scary, and difficult, and we have to defend against and be conscious of and do all that's required. In the worlds below the worlds, they bring such capacity and such capability. They have such intelligence and ability to help the team that I'm part of now. journey, and then I discover what presents itself on its own behalf.
Yeah.
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 And that's how I keep the soul companions
Yeah.
alive and present and
Yeah.
vital and part of my life.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I was just kind of reflecting on just moments ago, when we first started, how I had this nervousness sitting here because I hadn't seen you in 5 years and didn't know what to expect today. And just from the outset of your story of your grandfather, your great-grandfather, just this whoosh of warmth and feeling my own heart open.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's on some level the figures presenting themselves, even though I don't have anything in particular to share image-wise that has come up between us. And I'm wondering if you've had that experience before, or if this is the work of that.
Yeah, this is the work of that, and I've had that experience many times. Yeah.
Okay.
I shared with you, I was just in Zurich, and I'm presenting in front of 2,700 people, and I'm going, and I had all my prepared remarks, and I was going to get up and do it, and I was sitting there, and my time was coming up to the podium on stage, and something happened. It was out of the ordinary, right? He was like this happened.
Yes.
Like just what you're describing. Whether it was great-grandfather, some figure was present, and it was like, oh no. So I got up to the podium accompanied by his presence, because if I just get up there, I'm going to be, I won't be overly agitated, but I will deal with a little anxiety and, of course, stage fright just a bit, coming on. None of that was happening. Instead, I just was wide open. My heart was open, and I said to the whole group, I said, I have a prepared text, and I can do that, and I will. And, in fact, I'm doing a breakout session in 2 days, and I will go through a lot of that material. But something's happening for me right now that's different, and my heart is opening. And I'm wondering if it would be okay to go with that. It's a rhetorical question. Of course, people that are sitting listening to lectures for 3 days, what are they going to say? Please, go there.
Right.
Please.
Yeah.
So I just start sharing spontaneously. And yes, of course I was participating, yes. And too, though, something else was moving through that wanted to be spoken. And by the way, it had to do with children, technology, imagination, and it just... And wow, the reception was extraordinary. I wasn't the only one experiencing that, so a lot of people in the room evidently were. And there's a lot of... But even what just happened here and now, that feeling that you're experiencing, and that happens for us a lot. So how we would host that would be, I would ask you, what's the nature of the feeling? Or we could do it right now, or I could just describe it.
Sure.
You want to do it right now?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so share more. So the great thing is not a closed-ended question when I'm working with myself or others, open-ended. So it's not why, it's how. How so? Or go on. Those are the two great questions of all time.
Okay.
So when the experience happened, how was that for you? What was that like?
I think it made me very aware that I hadn't been open like that in a long time. It hadn't occurred to me that I hadn't had that feeling in quite some time. And it maybe in the back of my mind that I had been wanting that, and not knowing how to access it. Even though I feel like I should.
Yeah, and totally, believe me. I'm there often. There's a saying in dream tending, probably from Marion, this word's coming from Marion Woodman or others, the body is always dreaming, right? So when you shared that warm feeling, I noticed your hand gesture, and it went like this.
Yeah.
Hey, can you share that again?
Yes, it like it moved right through it.
And notice the it that was moving right through you. Can you share more about the it? What is the it?
It was everything's going to be okay feeling. Like wow, I didn't know I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to suggest or ask, invite you to go with that again, the breath. Right here.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, right?
Yeah.
And notice as this is happening, what's opening up even more
Yeah.
deeply still for you, here and now.
It is an opening. It's a very emotional opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm feeling this too.
Yeah.
A very emotional opening.
Mm-hmm. I think from a sense of heaviness that I didn't realize was there until that sweep through kind of maybe pushed it up or pushed it out.
Notice your gesture now.
Yeah. Then even bigger, right?
Yeah. Well, this sweep through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, right? Just play. Does it have a color by chance?
Yeah, at first it was a yellowish orangey, almost a fire feeling. Yeah.
And let's notice that if it were here in the room right now, this yellowish fire feeling, where would it be placed? Here, behind you, here, in front of you?
It's above. It moved through me. It's out there now.
Right here now.
Yeah.
And let's take a moment and just notice and look at it. In fact, let's not even call it anymore. It's a fire, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So fire present here and now. And it has a quality. What do you notice about the quality of fire?
It's just moving. It's warm. It's moving. It's alive.
Yeah. And I notice your fingers are like dancing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, would that be appropriate? Dancing fire dancing? Mm-hmm. That naming?
Yeah, I mean, you can. The outer edges are moving, but the inner part is very smooth and warm.
Oh, so it's a warm fire dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And just notice warm fire is dancing. I'm experiencing now warm fire dancing here between us. Mm-hmm. And if you were to share something with warm fire dancing, what would you share?
I don't know. I went to, my mind went right away to Native American dancing for some reason.
Okay. And notice warm fire dancing listening to you right now. And I'll just mirror that back. What you shared was, wow, when I'm here with you, I'm thinking of Native American dancing. And notice how fire is responding. What do you hear from fire?
Movement. Movement, like, what is the word? I don't even have the words for it. But like a pushing out, maybe.
Yeah. Well, an invitation has been offered, eh? So one of the ways, in fact, if you were to greet warm dancing fire with this and breath and pushing out, how are you experiencing warm dancing fire receiving that? Okay?
Oh, yeah, taking it all up. Like pulling it, yeah.
More than okay.
Yeah,
pulling
it out, okay. Yeah.
Can you imagine between now and when the sun sets this evening that on 3 different occasions, allowing the occasion to spontaneously present itself, that you invite warm fire dancing, and you can use your hands. It's great because our body will, it's always great to anchor it in our movements.
Yeah.
And be present and, offer your movement to warm fire dancing.
Yes.
And then just notice what comes back your way. Yeah,
Okay.
3 times today.
I will.
What a beautiful image, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and not only just the image, but the feeling.
The feeling.
That when I first felt it from sitting here and hearing the story, it moved,
Yeah. Yeah, well, the it has a name now. It's a living image. It's embodied.
Yeah.
It has its own movement and
Yeah, I
quality
see.
of presence, right? And to the extent that you bring yourself to this image, to warmth, she or he will bring back to you. And that'll be great to stay in contact with one another, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my heritage that I don't know much about. And I'm Native American. My mom was raised on a reservation. And like you, it was kind of, that whole part of the family was pushed to the side a little bit.
A little bit?
So we don't know a whole lot about it.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Okay, so, right.
Yeah.
You know, my heart just opened, whoom, and we were talking about great-grandfather, lineage. Who's visiting now? Notice who's visiting now.
Yeah.
Lineage is visiting now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it certainly seems so. And so those 3 times today, you know, when that happens, you know, really invite the presence of your elders and ancestors. You'll know, the way you'll know is, somebody shared this with me when I was in Australia, way in the outback. And I was visiting this little community of Aboriginal community. And I was invited in, and everything was, and it wasn't a tourist place. So and I was privileged, my family and I were privileged to had this person that guided us back to them, to sit there with them. And, you know, you come in, there were no paved roads or anything, but there was a whole community life, and everybody was busy doing this, that, and the other thing. Very, you know, everything was going well. And then they noticed that I had come, and they called council. All of a sudden, everybody just stopped what they were doing and gathered, right, in this room.
Yeah.
Where they were holding council. And it was a ritual place. And the woman that seemed just part of the community, it's always what happens in Native cultures, part of the community doing their thing, comes forward, and all the children, the 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-olds, the adolescents, everybody just got really, really quiet, which, you know, with kids doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and she invited me up. I was so privileged to share a little bit of story with her, which I did.
Yeah.
And so one thing led to the next, and dream comes forward, and one thing leads to the next. And then she said, well, an elder is visiting now. I go, oh. Okay, that goes on, and I'm deeply touched, similar to how what's making me remember this is what you're experiencing right now. And then I asked her in my Western mind, of course, you know, my Western inquisitive mind. I said, well, how did you know, that? Yeah. And you know what she said? I've never forgotten this. So, I know when I notice my ancestors smiling. Yeah, right?
Wow.
I look up and I see their smile, then I know. And I share that with you because what you're sharing is touching me so deeply. And when you're with the dance and when you're with your elders, just notice. Yeah. And when the smile comes, if that is what indeed happens, then you're in your home place.
Yeah. It's amazing. And where you can feel you feel the power of it. It's incredible. I mean, I could sit here forever and listen to the stories and do all this, but I'm aware of our time. And so I'd like to ask one question, which is a little bit more practical, I think, is, and it used to also trouble me after a weekend at school at Pacifica, is after having these experiences, after inviting these figures to come in, after relating to them, after hosting them, and making that part of your life, how do you go back into the real world? How do you transition? Because you have to, like you said, you have your responsibilities. You have people on the other side who think you are crazy to bring this stuff up to them. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important questions of our time, honestly. Okay, so now what? What do you do?
Right.
Right? Part of my morning ritual, as I shared, when I go back into the dream, I will write down and journal 3 things I'm going to do this day. The rule is it can't cost more than $1, so it can't be financial.
Uh-huh.
But 3 gestures I'll make this day on behalf of the work with dream, honoring elders, and the act of imagining that I'm doing. Okay, what 3 things will I bring back into the world today that are applied, essentially? I'm going to make time to visit my grandson. When I walk at the beach today, because I ocean swim every day, I'm going to take time to really honor one of the figures that has shown up. A third might be, well, I'll share with, not this morning, but yesterday morning. There was a friend that I just know there's something going on, and I haven't reached out. So, and one of the images in the dream had a person in the dream hurting, and so the thing I was going to do is simply reach out and say hello. So for me, it's, really, it's a gift, really. It's a gift not only to the situation and to the people that I'm reaching out to, and certainly I'm getting so much out of it in return.
Wow.
It's a gift to the figures themselves, right? They're presenting themselves. And often we think, well, what we do is need to know what they mean, which is, of course, important, as we shared. And 2, it's really cool to send something back with them, letting them know that, hey, you've made the visit here, and here's an offering that I can share back, to take back. You can take back, if you so wish, to the world of the dream time. So those gestures that I make every day, I feel they're offerings to the actual situation, to me, of course, and to the figures themselves going back home. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And what we can do in community, are you kidding? This is what I think is being asked of us in the world of today.
Yeah.
It's just what you're sharing. We need to come together and then share what it is our offerings are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And figuring out in community how we can support one another in extending that.
Yeah.
When I work politically, too, and I work with the United Nations, and I work with world leaders, true, not to inflate it, but yes, that's the kind of work that I'm asked to do sometime. I work with planning commissions. I work with boards of supervisors. I work with CEOs and their leadership teams. I do a lot of work, right? And you wouldn't think they would be open at all to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is
you're crazy.
Crazy. Hocus pocus. What the hell? Right? So I don't start this way. I don't start talking about archetypal psychology and imaginal figures. I don't go there at that first part. However, before we start, often I say, I know that there's a lot of serious things that we are, and I've been invited here to help facilitate some of the serious situations. And usually they're tricky and difficult and painful.
Right.
What I'd like to start with, I know it's a little out of the ordinary, is like everybody take a moment, close eyes, take a deep breath. Hey, nothing that we're all not used to. We just all slow ourselves down when we get too harassed. So find whatever way works for you. So really wanting to stay in the context of the group, the world that I'm into. And let's just notice, I'm wondering, is there any image that comes forward? It could be from a dream or something that happened during daytime that's a little out of the ordinary. Yeah. Let's just take a moment there. It's a starter, I'll say, something that is palpable. Yeah. It is remarkable because people will forever have a situation or an image that's come up that they've just forgotten about, and they're there to get down to business, right?
Yes.
Are you kidding? We're going to spend 10 minutes doing this when our time is limited and we have a job to do, a task to... So I'll do that. And then I'll say, well, let's just invest 2 more minutes. And I'd like you to share that with the person next to you. Okay. You would think that there would be resistance.
Yeah.
Once that starts, it's hard for me to get everybody back together. It's just,
really?
It opens people up widely. It opens people up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I'll say, okay, now we're back together. Now let's talk about the ABC.
Yes.
Yeah. The other way is doodling. Just doodle for a moment. But yeah, that's usually what I'll do.
But it puts them on a different level, I think, at that point.
Different level. like I was just in the Philippines and I was working with, a very high-level group of entrepreneurs, and
Yeah.
they essentially run the islands. Well, that's an overstatement. But they have a lot of
Yeah.
influence, let's say. That was an overstatement. They have a lot of influence, is more accurate. And we we started there, right? It just kept evolving, and we did more.
Wow.
They didn't want to leave.
They wanted it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I said, okay, I can see the energy in the room and the way that people are connecting with one another, communicating. Let's do this. Let's all take a moment and name the particular issue that you're working on. Those of you that are in engineering, those of you that are doing the political work, those of you that are doing, the cost analysis,
Yeah.
and all the different things.
Yeah.
Write down what it is in particular that's needing attention, that feels something like an obstacle. So everybody writes it down on a piece of paper. Okay, let's keep it there, right? Now let's come back to where we were, sharing the image. Now I'm going to invite everybody to doodle the figure that came forward, and take a moment and share that with your person. Okay, so that's happening. So now we're like an hour and a half in, and the field is expansive and creative. What we've done is invited creativity, ingenuity.
Yeah.
I mean, what brought you here to this work from the beginning?
Yeah.
It's not only your university training.
Right.
There's something about your creative life, your ingenuity, your fascination that brought you into this kind of work, right? So we're touching into that. All right, now let's get into smaller groups and take on the issues that you're needing. Oh my gosh, it was. We didn't even stop for lunch. We had to have somebody come and interrupt us for lunchtime.
Unbelievable.
And at the end of the day, it was wow, and people were just on fire with what they were creating and working through, and very practical applications, but infused and mused by imagination and creativity.
Do you think it's them coming forth with the image, or do you think it's the images that so desperately want to come out?
Oh, I think for sure both, but certainly the images hold imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the muses.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the ingenuity to begin with. I think first image, first imagination, then behavior.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that we know in depth psychology. It's the symptoms come, behind the symptom is an image, and when we get to the image, that's so important. But they will so influence our behavior. Yeah. So to get to know them, who's visiting now, what's happening here, what does the image desire? Yeah, those orienting questions.
And then the healing comes from that.
Yeah, truly. Oh, yeah. People were coming up after so grateful, right?
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, they're really grateful. And for me, yes, I accept their gratitude, but for me it's a privilege, right, to be present in that way, to support them. And I always think, look how many people they're going to influence,
right? In
their culture. These are leaders in their culture.
Right.
They're going to influence a lot of people by the work that they're doing now. This work is infused.
Even if you just planted the seed in those moments, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could go on for days, but our time is limited, but I appreciate this so much. It's been amazing. And I can just tell, it's not necessarily the exercise you put forward. It's the person you are that brings this out in other people.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I do have one last thing to share. Who you are right now in relationship to you is you're kind of... I'm going to invite you to go to a mirror and just notice yourself and look into your eyes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you're aglow at the moment, and it's beautiful to witness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
and I'm just seeing your people, the lineage, It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for inviting me to be here with you.
Yeah. Well, it's just been great, amazing, and more than I could have hoped for. So